Good afternoon, Michael Malice here. Let that be our welcome for the next hour, guys. I am frankly giddy because we have a guest that I've been a huge fan of for quite some time, decades at this point. The man who needs no introduction, Adam Carolla. Adam, I was just recently on your show, and I was a little bit nervous about asking you to do my show, and then you volunteered to do so. So I was very happy to have that happen. And I don't know if you realize this, but I ran into you recently here on the streets of Austin, and I don't think you recognized me, and it felt like a crazy person accosting you, and you're like, yeah, great.
No, I didn't. It wasn't on the street, was it? Or were
Yes,
we
it was on 6th Street.
I was on the street. Maybe that was it. It was a whirlwind. I came in and I did a speaking debate thing, and then I did a set over Rogan's Club, and I was just kind of my compass was spinning around.
I did not take it personal. It was just funny because I'm like, hey, Adam. You're like, oh.
Yeah, it's a mistake. Sorry.
What I have so much to talk to you about. I've had Dr. Drew on, and I've been on his show as well. And I thought what was very interesting with him during COVID was when he got red pilled, was when he was asking just direct, basic medical questions. And you had randos on Twitter and social media telling him to shut up and sit down as if he didn't know what he was talking about. And for him, this is like, whoa. I went to medical school. You're just someone who reads the New York Times is parroting things. What would you say your red pill moment was, if you had one?
I'm generally dubious when it comes to like the city and the state and the country sort of announcing things are dangerous.
Yeah.
My default setting is one eyebrow raised with my arms folded because I have been dealing with them lying for a long time. And I understand that they lie like a parent lies to a child trying to get them to do the right thing. And I'll give you some examples. And it's always bothered me. And I used to say to Dr. Drew when I did Loveline, and anyone who listened to Loveline will remember some of these classic rants, but in the 90s, later 90s, but all through the 90s, I would, and probably before, I would see billboards in LA that say 56,000 people died of secondhand smoke, and totes, like the national debt that would keep going up, how many Americans die of secondhand smoke. Yeah. And I would say to Dr. Drew all the time, all right, if so many thousands of Americans are dying of secondhand smoke, how come no celebrity ever died of secondhand smoke? How come no one I went to high school with died of secondhand smoke? How come I never heard of any famous person or anyone in my circle or anybody's? I've never been to a funeral where they said the guy died of secondhand smoke. So how is this possible? And I felt the same way with COVID and kids. If no healthy kid ever dies, and I have kids and they have tons of friends, and nobody has ever told a story of one of these kids dying of COVID, then why is this dangerous to kids? I'm not seeing it. So I yelled about secondhand smoke for a long time, which is a weird and unpopular stance to take. But my stance wasn't pro or against smoking. My stance was pro or against the government lying to me about stuff they wanted me to do. So I get it. You want people not to smoke. Fine, that's noble. But you're not allowed to make up statistics and scare them. And then at some point after me yelling about this for years, Drew had found an article from JAMA that suggested like as many as 6 people may have died of secondhand smoke in 1 year, much less 56,000. And so and then before that, it was AIDS being an equal opportunity killer, heterosexual sex, gay sex. It's all the same. And I was like, okay, so what you guys do is you lie to scare people to then get them to comply to whatever it is you would like or whatever new regulation or rule you'd like to pass. So my first blush with everything is, who's telling me this again? Oh, the guys who lie about everything in a very negative and scary direction, trying to get hold of all the vapid moms and scare the shit out of them. And then by the way, it's never a lie. It's lie. First comes lie, then comes comply. starts with the lie, but they don't leave it at the lie. Now we got to get into action. Now we got to shut down outdoor dining and arrest people at the beaches and shut the parks and arrest you and throw you out of the airplane. They're like, if it was just lying, fine, go lie. But they don't do that. The lie is the tilling of the soil, but that's not the end game. That's them softening up and fertilizing the soil. The seed's coming, and there's going to be a harvest, and that's how they work. So I knew they were hysteric liars, and I also the news were I knew the news were their sort of useful idiot that would push along whatever narrative that came out about whatever it is they wanted to lie about this weekend. So I was already there. But then, as Dr. Drew pointed out to me, because I didn't even really know why I knew it was nothing to worry about early. And I say this as as a father of two 14-year-old twins at the time. I do not, I don't want to see them perish. So I had skin in the game. I was a pattern studier. I study patterns unknowingly, but I just study the way, subconsciously, I study the way people walk, the way they talk, the way they move, what they do, and then I get my answers, whether they're going to be late or on time or dangerous or whatever it is. Like you would profile a stray dog that was walking down the street.
Yeah.
What's the breed, how they walk, and what they look like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I did not get any ages of any of the people who died for the first 8 days. They kept saying, oh, man out of Arleta died of COVID, and then a woman in Reseda died of COVID. And I'd listen to the radio so much, the news on the radio, and it was always an 86-year-old out of Arleta, a 41-year-old man dies on a motorcycle accident. And all of a sudden, they remove the age from the description. And I literally was yelling into a microphone. I hate when people use the word literally, but I was saying, where are the ages? I'm not hearing ages. Why do I not hear ages? I'm very curious. How come I don't hear ages? And news people, were saying to me, well, it's a HIPAA law or something. I go, why is it a HIPAA law to say 86-year-old man in Arleta died? That's not a HIPAA law. Well, HIPAA law, they got their reasons or something. I was like, oh, they got their reasons. The reasons is these people are in their 90s. That's the reason. And believe me, if it was a 22-year-old, they'd be saying it because it scared the shit out of us. But they won't give ages. So I immediately was like, if I'm not hearing ages, I'm not buying this because I think this is killing people who should already be dead. And that's when I just folded my arms, and I was 8 days in. I was like, fuck this. You're not going to give me, if you're not going to give me whatever truth about this, like the simple age of the person that died, then I don't believe you because I think this is affecting old people. And then at some point, Fauci did that thing in Congress where he couldn't opine over whether marching with Black Lives Matter was a blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, I started yelling, he's compromised. He's compromised because he's telling you can't go to the ball game. You can't do crowds. You can't do gatherings. But as far as BLM rallies, no opinion. And I was like, oh, well, that's a pattern. What do you mean? You just said no church, no ball games, no sporting events, but we got nothing about Black Lives Matter rallies, huh? No opinion. Okay, you're compromised. Now I don't believe you. Let's go to the CDC and listen to what Rochelle Walensky has to say. Oh, she was told by the teachers' unions to walk back opening schools. Okay, now you're compromised. I don't believe you. Biden, I never believe anything Biden says because he doesn't know what he's saying, and Kamala Harris and whatever. So I was like, okay, nothing's going on. And I just, this lab leak and it came from a wet market and stuff. I knew everyone was full of shit from the beginning. I don't know why. I knew the pattern. And so I didn't care. So I just went about my life.
Have you, there's you touched on something with the AIDS crisis, which is really interesting. I read this book called "And the Band Played On." Have you read it by Randy Schultz? I think
I've heard about it many times. Yes.
it's superb because it talks about how the AIDS hit and how it rolled out. And to your point, uh, they were trying to close down these bathhouses, which were hotbeds of just insane, promiscuous sex among men. And the activists were saying, no, this is homophobic and you're sexual fascists and you closing this down. And then they had to pretend that this was hitting everybody equally when it's very understood how it's transmitted. And what was even funnier is then the lesbians had to get in on it and said, this is our problem too. And it's like, how is this your problem? And they had to come up with this scenario where like one lesbian doesn't have a dental dam and she goes in another, something that literally never ended up happening ever, but theoretically it could. So therefore, it's our problem too. So it's really kind of, you would think the one issue or one of the few issues other than maybe education that would be non-political, non-partisan is health, public health. Everyone gets sick. Everyone has to worry about breathing. This is not Republicans and Democrats both have to breathe the same air. And to your point, it's just the interest groups and the shamelessness is so brazen. I remember, talking to people at the time being like, wait, your model, now this is me, tinfoil hat, is that children need to get shots in 6 months in perpetuity for a disease they can't get. Like children are not getting shots. Like, but this is what you're arguing for. And why? Well, because you gotta. And you sit there and you're just like, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, sorry to cut you off, but there's certain little indicators, like a little thought experiment. Every single person on the news or in politics, whether they're anchor on CNN, whether they were a late night show host, whether they were on MSNBC, whether they worked for the New York Times, LA Times, or they were your governor, your mayor, your local congressman, whatever. All the people told you how deadly it was. How come none of them are dead?
Right.
Shouldn't Anderson Cooper be dead?
Yeah.
If Anderson Cooper died, then I'd go, oh, whoa, what happened? Healthy, in shape, jogged every day. He got COVID. He's dead now. And if, Karen Bass of L.A. mayor or Garcetti at the time, L.A. mayor, Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmer. Gretchen Whitmer's a healthy, vibrant woman struck down in her prime. Okay, if anybody in the CNN anchor sphere or MSNBC anchor, any of the people that were lecturing us on COVID, shouldn't one of them have died? Like, what if you're making a movie about a pandemic? Would this be the worst movie ever? Nobody died? Except for old, fat, sick people? It'd make a horrible pandemic movie. Yeah, the kids are fine.
And all the celebrities, everyone.
And all the celebrities. Everyone who told you you're going to die is fine, except the average age of the death of the person who died of COVID is older than the average age of the American who would die. What kind of movie would that make? The most boring pandemic movie ever?
Do you also remember, I think people forget that this past June, Biden somehow managed to catch COVID again, and they didn't pretend it was a problem. It's like the guy's 80, he has COVID, and it's just like, yeah, he'll be fine. There was no like, holy shit, what happens if Biden croaks, Kamala, there was not even a
I know. The best is when they get over their own hoaxes.
Yes.
Like you're like, well, what about black people not having an ID and unable to vote? Oh, yeah, we're done with that one. Oh, what about the school to prison pipeline? Yeah, but that's... Well, wait a minute, you're done with your own catastrophe? Well, we said it was a catastrophe, but we got bored.
But in their defense, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. The way I argue it is I think the average person lives in a perpetual present, right? And if it's like a soap opera, I remember watching, you and I both old enough to remember Dynasty, and there was a character, I think it was Adam, and he raped this girl, Trilby, her name, whatever it was.
Yeah, he did.
Three seasons later, he's marrying her. Right? And they're just pretending that never happened because in the storyline of the show, they want it to happen, and the audience is like, okay, go with it. And it's the same kind of stuff with this. It's like, if you just don't talk about stuff that happened in the past, people just think what just happened 5 minutes ago is their reality.
And in back to TV shows, maybe a little before your time, but in the Partridge Family, season 1, their drummer looked like a 7-year-old Hasidic Jew. And season 2, it was a blonde-haired kid who looked like, Hitler Youth, and they just swapped them out. And nobody talked about, the car crash and the adoption and the subsequent adoption. It was just, they just call them by the same name. They didn't even try to get a dark-haired kid. They just went with a blonde kid. And it's like, that's Chris. He's a drummer.
Guys, I want to talk to you about a product that I use every day, and I am a big fan of, Just Thrive. There's never been a better time to take control of your health, and it all starts in the gut, because processed foods, pesticides in your food, antibiotics, stress at work, toxins in the air, all of that stuff can overwhelm your digestive system. Yes, that miserable post-meal bloat, indigestion, gas, and more, all those are signs that your gut needs some help. Our bodies are attacked on a daily basis. What can we do to fight back? We have Just Thrive Probiotic. It's the only clinically proven probiotic and antioxidant comprised of science-backed strains that keep the gut healthy and balanced. Did you know that most probiotics on the market die in your stomach acid? That's what the point of the acid is, to destroy things. Just Thrive survives 100%. It's a probiotic that actually works. For you, that means better digestion, healthy immunity, more energy, and easy weight management. It comes in a capsule or a berry-flavored gummy. There's an option for everyone in the family, and it's backed by an industry-leading guarantee. Are you ready to transform your gut health in 2025? Take the 9-day challenge. Love the way you feel, or full product refund, no questions asked. I swear by this stuff. I used to have stomach issues all my life until I tried probiotics. And when people told me about it, I'm like, okay, whatever, because I'm not into that woo-woo stuff. And it completely changed my approach to food, and I could feel like a normal person again. If this sounds like you, please consider giving them a try. Visit justthrivehealth.com and save 20% off your first 9-day bottle with promo code WELCOME. That's justthrivehealth.com, promo code WELCOME. Thank you so much to Just Thrive for supporting the show, and thank you even more for helping with my digestion. Let's get back to the show. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts, and I'm sure lots of people are as well, about your former co-host Jimmy Kimmel and his kind of behavior during all this. I remember vividly when these protests were going on, and his monologue said, "You can't compare it to like going to sports games," and the reason he gave is, quote, "That's just stupid." Like, there wasn't even a pretense that comparing these two things is accurate. He just hand-waved it away. What are your thoughts on him and nowadays?
Well, we're good friends. Obviously, we have very different thoughts as it pertains to COVID and many other, political discussions. I'll say that when you're in the middle of Hollywood and you're surrounded on all sides by this, it's easier to get sort of sucked into the system. Also, it's not good business to take super unpopular stances like me. But I'll say this about Jimmy, if I'm being completely honest. I don't do a lot of like sort of cop-out answers. But with Jimmy, it is a little bit of a cop-out answer. I like Jimmy a lot. He's been very good to me. And I like him as a human being, and I know him as a generous, magnanimous person. And so whatever you want to get into about COVID or Newsom or California or Biden or Trump, I just go, so be it. It's not worth I can't explain it, and I can't rationalize it. And all I will say is we are friends, and we've always been friends, and that's the way I like it. And when it comes to these things, he thinks this way, and I think that way. And by the way, he doesn't hold my thoughts against me either, which is traditionally and easily done here in the United States.
I think if there's more of that, that's better. I'd rather have friends who care about me and like me, who have different views about certain things, than agree with me. And yet, if shit hits the fan, I can't call them and rely on them. And I think it's kind of
He when the Malibu fires hit, he and Dr. Drew were amongst the first to reach out to want to know if I needed a place to stay.
Yeah, exactly. And that says more than someone's political views. Do you think I know this is such a talking point, but I would love to hear you get into it to some detail. I do think there is this growing tribalism, for lack of a better term, in the states. I think this kind of idea, like if you see it on dating apps, you're a Trump voter, swipe left, all this sort of stuff. I would never talk to a Republican, and it's not just from one side; it's on the other side as well. Do you think this is something that's getting worse, and do you think it's by design, or is it just organic?
Well, it's an inevitable. It's a place you're going to end up if this is the protocol. Like you will inevitably be there. Like it's sort of like affirmative action, which is now DEI. It's like
Yeah.
you start off going, UCLA has 50,000 students and there's not enough black students. And then everybody nods their head and goes, yeah. And then someone goes, don't you think it'd be nice if there was a little more diversity on campus at UCLA and that it reflected the community, that it, blah, blah, blah. And everyone kind of goes, yeah. And you go, all right, well, then we're all in agreement. Like, this is a good thing. It's healthy, diversity. And then at some point, you're kicking out Asians with a perfect SAT score, and you're letting in black kids who couldn't cut it at the community college. And now people are pissed, and the black students are flaming out, and the Asian kids are suing UCLA, and that's where it ends.
Yeah, yeah.
It starts with, okay, good, we're all Americans, right? Right, we're all Americans. We all want what's best for our children. That's where it starts. But you can kind of go, it takes two to tango. But look, if you're going to consistently call whoever is running for president or governor or anything, if you're against you, the Democrat, if you're going to call the Republican racist and sexist and xenophobic and homophobic, if that's all you're ever going to do, then yeah, this is where it's going to end up. If you're going to figure out a way to call Mitt Romney, if you're going to call Mitt Romney racist, then I think we're going to end up here, and you can't help it. And it's like I was saying to somebody the other day where they went, those Democrats wouldn't even stand up for that kid with the brain surgery. They wouldn't even stand up for the mother whose daughter was taken while jogging in the park. I'm like, well, if Hitler was telling you to stand up every 10 minutes, would you do it?
Well, you probably would. You probably would have.
What if Hitler had no army?
Yeah.
What if a super benign Hitler was telling you, write that down. It's my next comic book series. What if a feckless Hitler told you, a hapless, benign Hitler was like, stand up? You'd be like, I'm not going to stand.
Right.
And you'd be like, well, it's not for me. It's to honor the kid with the brain tumor. Yeah, but it's still Hitler telling you to stand up. I mean, in a weird way, it was consistent what the Democrats did. If Donald Trump is trying to end our democracy,
right,
and he's Hitlerian, well, then no, maybe you shouldn't stand and honor just because he brings up a fireman who was injured.
If there's one thing Hitler approved of, it's black kids with terminal illnesses.
Yeah, he loved that.
That was Nazism 101.
He gave a medal to the doctor that found the tumor.
Right.
And said it was inoperable. Yeah.
I think a moment for a lot of people, broadly speaking, on the left who got red pilled in the last few months was when Obama was palling around with Trump at Jimmy Carter's, I think it was Jimmy Carter's funeral. I know Charlemagne specifically talked about this. He's like, wait a minute, you just spent, 8 years talking about how this guy, is a white nationalist, white supremacist, Hitlerian, blah, blah, blah. And now you guys are busting each other's chops. I feel betrayed, and I don't blame him for feeling betrayed.
I'll tell you, there's a certain point when you realize that when you get divorced, you think it's your attorney versus your ex's attorney, and that they're combative, and that this guy's going to battle for you and that one's going to battle for her, or vice versa. And then at some point you realize they both end up in the same country club laughing at how much fucking money they've extracted from you. And then you realize, like, do you really hate the person on the other side, or is this all part of the grift where we can keep this thing going until we're out of money? And you realize, oh, that is the game. And that's part of Obama's grift. Go up in front of the historically black college, tell them they're all, being held down and have to work 10 times as hard as everyone else, and how Trump wants him held down, and then go back to Martha's Vineyard and have a laugh.
Yeah. Have you seen he's been posting really horrendous pictures of Michelle on his Twitter recently?
I saw some of that, and I don't know if it's. I know guys can be a little dense sometimes,
But
and
not him.
no, and he's not known as dense, not
Yeah.
known as
Well,
dense.
he's also known about being image conscious specifically.
I listen. I will say this: every guy I know has run up against posting a picture and had their lady go, "Are you kidding? I look horrible." And then they go, "What? You look fine. You that's how." Or, worst answer: "That's how you look."
I don't think that's what happened there.
No, but you're right. He's savvy, and he's not drunken me sending a picture out and without thinking about it. This is
Right.
a guy who's 10 moves ahead on the chessboard of life, right?
Yeah.
So, in a world where he does nothing that doesn't mean something, then what is this?
Yeah, my friend Megan said that there's a lot of talk in Washington that they're on the verge of divorce.
Megan Kelly?
Megan McCain.
Oh, Megan McCain.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's two good blonde Megans right there.
You support. By the way, there are two things on your Wikipedia that I was very curious about. First of all, there is some dispute about where you were born.
Mm-hmm. I was born in a doctor's office in Westwood, California.
Okay, because they say Philly on your. They don't know.
Yeah.
The other question is, I'm curious. You were supposedly, according to that, supported Andrew Yang in 2020, and I thought he was a snake from the beginning. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts about this.
I didn't know he was a snake at the beginning. I was not a fan of universal pay or whatever
Sure.
the shit he was peddling.
UBI, yeah.
Yeah, I did like him as I don't know what you call a breath of fresh air. Like, sort of seemed a little different, a little more authentic. But and I'd interviewed him, and I generally liked him. But at some point, he had to declare a major, and then he went over to the Democrat side of the aisle, and then you'd see him on CNN, and it sounded like a totally different dude because he was completely compromised by now Democrats. Because it's got to be difficult because you become a Democrat, and all of a sudden the trans community has to be your number one issue, and you want an open border, and it's like you have to just start saying insane things if you become a Democrat, and they won't tolerate any nuance. And I think I told him that, when I saw him now shilling for the Democrats, he sounded different, and I'm assuming compromised, which I kind of told him, and he kind of admitted as much.
Oh, wow.
And I don't like him anymore because he was compromised. But at first blush, I thought he was interesting. He was talking about math and stuff like that. I was like, good, somebody's talking about something. But no, I'm not a Yang supporter.
The thing that really crossed the line for me was him singing the praise of Liz Cheney and how brave she is.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the woman who was telling John McCain on Twitter, sit down and shut up. You don't know how great torture is, and we need to have more of it. And it's just like, all right, if you're going to be Mr. Post-Partisan, forward, neither right nor left, if you can't draw the line on endorsing torture, I have no time for you.
Yeah, he got compromised. And
Yeah.
the Liz Cheney thing became one of the many subjects that the Democrats all had to sort of coalesce around and all agree on, and nobody could say anything disparaging.
Guys, are you feeling buried under credit card debts, personal loans, medical debt? It's like your money's working harder for your lenders than it is for you, but it doesn't have to be that way with PDS Debt, because PDS Debt does more than just help you manage your debt. They empower you to take control. Using their platform, they go beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and craft a personalized plan designed just for you. No more cookie cutter solutions, just a clear path to financial freedom that fits your lifestyle. Here's the best part. No minimum credit score required. So whether your credit is bad or fair, they are here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start putting money where it belongs, in your savings account. I have had to deal with debt when I was younger, and it is the worst thing because it's always like this background music and you can never stop thinking about it. So if this is an issue for you, please consider getting help. Here's what you got to do. You go to pdsdebt.com/welcome. You complete your free debt assessment, see what options are available. Every day you wait, it's costing you more money. So get started with your free debt analysis. It's just 30 seconds. at pdsdebt.com/welcome. That's pdsdebt.com/welcome. Take back control today by visiting pdsdebt.com/welcome. Guys, are you ready to optimize your nutrition? Well, Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved, ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes. They sent me some. I can vouch for this. Very delicious and no problem to make, which is very important for me. So you can feel right, feel great, no matter what life throws at you. They arrive fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle or the sedentary lifestyle that you guys have. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. So they have preferences like keto, like I said, protein plus, which I liked, and calorie smart. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. They've got these cool juice mixes, which I enjoy. They're up in my fridge right now. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. All you got to do to eat smart with Factor is get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FACTORPODCAST to get half off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get half off plus free shipping on your first box. And thank you, Factor Meals, for fueling me. Let's get back to the show. Were you surprised at how heavily, because you and I both very vividly remember 2008 and 2000 to 2000, the Bush-Cheney years. Were you surprised by how vividly and strongly, I don't know if vividly is the right word, the Democrats embraced Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney this time around?
No, because they basically are like America with Don King. Like Don King's a corrupt promoter, rips off black men, stomped a man to death in St. Louis because he owed him $40. And then he just gets an American flag and picks his hair out and goes, only in America. And everyone goes, I love this guy. Look at him. He's the best. Meanwhile, he's now still ripping everyone off, but he's got his little flag. They're so easy. Like, they're two greatest heroes. Like the left's greatest heroes in the last, 10, 20 years have been Harvey Weinstein and Michael Avenatti.
Yeah.
They loved, the ladies from The View. They had such a crush on Michael Avenatti.
Oh, yeah.
They love Michael Avenatti. They love that. Oh, and George Floyd. They love George Floyd. They love George Floyd, Michael Avenatti, and Harvey Weinstein. Those are their heroes.
Yeah.
So all you have to do, so obviously they have no judgment of character whatsoever. But all Michael Avenatti had to do was say he was going to take Trump out to the woodshed or something, and the ladies from The View all wet their panties, and that was about it. So, no, nothing ever surprises me with them. They'll embrace anybody who turns on Trump in a millisecond. But even like corrupt FBI former leaders and stuff like that, all those guys, they don't care. All the stuff they formerly stood against, they love.
But I was surprised by how much it went over with their audience, because there's lots of people in that audience who remember, personally would have marched against Bush Cheney, thought Bush was a war criminal, Hitler, blah, 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 with far more reason, in my view, than Trump, anything Trump's ever done. And now there wasn't even like a batting of an eye, or like even, I think maybe it was Michael Moore. I could be completely wrong. There was one person or a few who were like, guys, what are you doing here? Like, this is not the move. But for all the others, it was like, meh, this is great.
Well, when the guy who dresses like an out-of-work lesbian trucker tells you to pump the brakes, it's time to take a look in the mirror.
It's time to listen. If you're dressed like a trucker, maybe the guy knows when to pump the brakes.
Out-of-work lesbian trucker. Let's not besmirch the fine men who move cargo.
Are you as surprised as I am by how effective Trump has been in the second term? Because there was this, I was on Rogan, we were talking about this over the summer, that there was a conspiracy theory that Biden had a body double. And my conspiracy theory is that this is a body double, that this is not the same Trump that it was through 4 years we all sat through, because I don't recognize this man.
I think Trump went into the first term naive, in the sense that I really do think, and I've been burned this way as well in terms of not thinking people were nefarious or
Oh yeah.
up to bad or harm or anything. Like I think he showed up and he was like, I honestly think in his first term, Trump thought, look, I know it got pretty ugly with Hillary. Also, he has a thing that I have as well, but it's a thing to go, okay, well, just put that behind us. So let's move forward, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
a lot of people don't have that. So
Yeah.
you have to have it in his business, you know? So I think what Trump did, and, you know, you can call it naivete, but it's almost like saying, well, I went to Oakland, I left my backpack in my car, and I
Right,
went to
right,
Starbucks. And you go, oh, you're such an idiot. It's like, am I an idiot, or is there a criminal that broke my window? Like,
right.
is that my fault for just leaving my car
Well, it
with
could
my
be both.
backpack in it? Yeah, I just mean like I don't think I'm the bad guy here.
Yeah, sure, sure.
And yes, lesson learned, but lesson learned. So I think he went in with a kind of naivete, and he thought, look, you know, me and Hillary, you know, lots of things were said, and it got a little ugly. And the New York Times said some pretty bad shit about me, and so did the LA Times, and so did CNN. But it's over now. I want what's best for this country. And I think when I start doing the things that I want to do in this country and things getting better and helping the black community and so on and so forth, I think even CNN and MSNBC and New York Times, I think they're going to understand that I love this country. And the people who work in my administration and around me, or the FBI, the CIA, like they're going to understand I'm one of the good ones.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
want what's best for this country. And then people are going to stop writing all the horrible stuff and doing all the hit pieces on CNN. And we're going to get together and we're going to really make this country great again. And he had no idea who he was dealing with.
Yeah, and it's also interesting. Something Trump obviously has a big ego, and I don't think it's unwarranted. He won the presidency 3 times, haha. But the staffing choices, you know, he very much admitted, what was I thinking? Like, I still don't understand how the head of Exxon becomes Secretary of State. But people like Reince Priebus and all these others, like someone made that joke about how he drained the swamp by hiring it. I'm
Right.
guessing you're as enthused as I am, and most people watching this, by this kind of Justice League they've built up this time around.
I am, because I want like people of character, and I want
Yeah.
smart people, and I want hardworking people, and I want honest people. And then as far as you know, it's always so weird. Like, this guy has no experience working for the defense contractors or something. It's like, I don't know. Do you want that? Is that, don't you make all your movies about how evil those guys are? You know what I'm saying? Like, I would rather have an untrained cop than a bad cop.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And so I'm with you. I'm enthusiastic about all these. What I hate. Look, Joe Biden was just status quo. It's just 4 years
Right.
of that, just career politician doing nothing, saying all the right stuff, never doing anything, just wasting everyone's time. No anything. And Kamala Harris was just more the same. So
Yeah.
anything, something, yeah, something different, yeah, exciting. And plus, it's rare that, you know, I've hung out with Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard and interviewed these people and talked to these people, and I know them a little bit. I'm like, oh, this is a real substantial person. Like, good. Not, you know, I've interviewed Gavin Newsom. He's a dingbat. You know, he's a crackpot. Like, I wouldn't want that guy in charge of my lemonade stand on a Sunday, much less a state or the country. So it's nice to talk to smart, substantial people, and it's nice to know they're in these positions.
So a lot of boomer conservatives think Newsom has a great shot to be president in 2028. I don't see it at all. I think he very much is plastic, has this American Psycho vibe. I don't think you could sell him whatsoever to middle America. You are a Californian. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, because I don't know if you saw this. He launched a podcast. The first episode, he had Charlie Kirk on, and he threw the trans athlete stuff under the bus. He goes, "You're right. This isn't fair. I'm not into it." He's getting heat. Okay, I'm like, clearly the guy's running. Not a surprise that he's running. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. You think he has a good shot at the nomination or the presidency in 2028?
I've been wrong about Gavin Newsom in the past, and and wrong politically in the past, so hard to prognosticate. Um, I would ask, I would tell everyone on the left to go. All your people are now trying to get elected by doing some version of what people on the right have been saying for 40 years. So isn't that an indicator? Like when Kamala Harris runs for president, all of a sudden the pro-trans illegals in prison policy and the end fracking policy, it's all out the window.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, you can say here's let me give you an example.
Sure.
Here's what I would say. It'd be like a woman going, "Look, I want to get married, and I want to settle down, and I want to have kids. I want to start a family, and I want a long traditional marriage with 5 children." And then you go, "All right, it's between 2 suitors. I got 2 suitors over here. I got Alan, I got Steve over here. All right, Alan, what about you? I've been heterosexual my whole life and never been married, and I love kids. Steve, well, I used to suck a lot of cock, and I hate kids, but that was the old Steve. Now, guess what? I like pussy, right? That's what you call it, right? And I love them kids, so you should marry me." And I'm like, why would you even entertain? No, because I'm different. That's why. Yeah, that was all through my 20s and early 30s. Yeah. I had a lot of boyfriends. Yeah. But I thought about it, and now I'm different, and I'm more like this guy over here. I want those kids and that marriage and good, wholesome heterosexual sex, And my answer is when did you change? Why are you saying this? Kamala Harris, you were a spring chicken of 55. You were 55 years old when you were talking about ending fracking and transgender and this, that, and there. Now it's been 4.5 years and you've really rethunked this whole thing? So, or are you just pretending to be straight so you can get married? And then you'll go back to whatever it is you were. But here's my thing is, I don't know, maybe the guy will stay on the straight and narrow. Maybe we'll get married. Maybe he will have kids. Why are we even discussing it? The other guy never sucked cock. So what are we worried about with him? He never did it. He never brought up. He said, I'm not for it. The other one we're having to take their word for. Oh, Gavin Newsom's against transgender. Oh, he is?
Fuck.
Because he's going to start sucking cock halfway into your marriage.
Did you know that Gavin Newsom, I'm sure, and Donald Trump Jr. are Eskimo brothers?
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny in that regard. You were on The Apprentice with Trump before he was president or a political figure, obviously. What was your impression of him? Interacting with him in real life.
My impression with Trump was he was always in a hurry.
Oh, okay.
Everybody would be sitting in the boardroom. Sort of everyone would be in their positions, so to speak. And at some point, we'd be sitting there and they'd go, where's Trump? Trump's coming. He's coming. And then at some point, Trump would just come kind of blowing in and sit down and go, all right, let's get going. And we'd tape for a while, whatever. And then he'd go, all right, good. We got it. Everyone good? Good. He was, cordial, personal, fine. And they go, all right. And he'd just blow right out again, So he relies on his lieutenants to take care of business. But look, if you're a commercial builder, you ain't setting the tile yourself. You rely on subs, and you got foremen, and you got guys who run job supervisors and jobs. I mean, you rely heavily on like an army of guys that are running multiple job sites and reporting back to you. You got to get rid of the unreliable ones. You got to get rid of the unskilled ones. You have to thin that herd, but then you surround yourself with a handful of lieutenants and you're like, I can I can build an 80-story casino with these two dudes, and they'll find the subs and they'll supervise all the subs and change orders and blah, blah, blah. So I come from a building background, so I kind of understand this. You ain't building it yourself. Donald Trump's not showing up with tool bags and swinging a hammer. Everything is subbed out and farmed out, right? So that's kind of his vibe. I was like, I don't particularly like Trump. He's not my cup of tea as a dude. I'm not, I'm sort of knock around, drink some beers, watch some football kind of guy. I sort of like this version of Trump better than the old version of Trump that I knew, who was like a lot of energy, a lot of bravado. This is a mellowed, look, the guy's in his later 70s, you slow down a little bit of a little more self-deprecating, but I'll tell you what I walked away with, and I felt strongly about this, which was his kids were very loyal and very personable and very professional and very impressive.
Okay.
I was always like, oh, these are good kids, and they're sharp, and they're well put together, and they respect the hell out of their dad. And I thought, okay, that means something to me, because when I meet someone who hasn't spoken to their dad in 28 years or something like that, I go, that guy's probably not a good dude. If you guys haven't spoken in 3 decades, something's wrong. Something's up. And I know he'd have a story about you too, but you're his kid. And the fact that they respected Trump and worked with him and were all very well mannered and behaved and kind of put together and professional and like sober and prompt, I was like, he's doing something right with his kids.
You know who else was really impressed with Trump and his family? It was Hillary. I don't know if you remember this, but in 2016 debates, they were each challenged to say something nice about their opponent. And she goes, I'm really impressed with his family. They're like a blended family, but they all really care about each other and they fight hard for him. And I think that's really great. So it seemed pretty sincere, which is kind of rare coming from her. Who knows who it was, but that seems to be the thing. Folks, seasons change, but so do your skin's needs. So shifts in the weather can leave your skin feeling irritated, tight, and dry, especially if you have sensitive skin or eczema or things like that. But what if your skincare routine could help calm your skin and reverse the signs of aging at the same time? This is where OneSkin comes in. It's founded by 4 PhD-level researchers. OneSkin is the only company with the OS1 peptide. It's the first ingredient scientifically proven to reduce the dysfunctional senescent cells that build up as you age and make you more sensitive to those seasonal symptoms like tight, dry skin. You know turtles don't age. They don't have those cells. Look it up. It's true. Their products are free from more than 1,500 common irritants, and they're backed by countless lab and clinical studies. Just a few of the reasons they've earned the National Eczema Association seal of acceptance. So if you have seasonal sensitivity or year-round irritation, OneSkin soothes and calms your skin while helping it become younger and healthier at the cellular level. So for a limited time, you get 15% off your first OneSkin purchase with code Malice when you check out at oneskin.co. I liked it. It made me feel smoother. Maybe you'll like it too. I bet you will. It's worth a shot if it's something you've been thinking about doing. I like to put it on and then pretend I'm Patrick Bateman, but that just might be a me thing. Founded and led by an all-woman team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with the proprietary OS1 peptide. It's the first ingredient, proven to help skin look, feel, and behave like its younger self. And you can get 15% off with code Malice at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code Malice. And after you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the show and tell them that Michael Malice sent you. Invest in the health and longevity of your skin with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you. Guys, if you're a gold owner, you already know about all the ways precious metals can hedge against financial instability. Clients all over the world have been taking advantage of their gold and silver leases to put their metals to work and grow their total ounces over time. And that's where Monetary Metals comes in, because with Monetary Metals, you can earn up to 4% in their leasing program immediately upon funding your account. Higher yields are available to accredited investors in their bond offerings. The interest you earn is paid in ounces of physical gold or silver, which you get in addition to any price appreciation from gold and silver during the year. Question is this: why earn in dollars when you can earn in gold? You could be stacking more gold on autopilot while those central planners try to convince you that inflation is somehow a good thing. This is a no-brainer for gold owners. Now's the time. Secure your wealth, build your legacy in an asset that the government cannot inflate away. Don't let the Fed be in control of your finances. Go to monetary-metals.com/malice today. That's monetary-metals.com/malice. Let's get back to the show. One of the questions about The Apprentice, the way it was edited, it seemed like for all you guys, this was like the most important thing in the world to kind of win, and everyone's super competitive and super into it. Was that accurate to reality, or was that just the presentation of the show?
Well, I was told originally that I was going to go to New York and I was going to be there for 3 months or something and stay at the Trump Tower. And I said, I can not see my wife and kids for an extended period of time, but I can't do without TV for that run, And they're like, I need TV where I can tape my shows and come home and watch what I want to watch and stop and pause and fast forward. And one of my guys here said, well, good, we'll hook up the sling box for you. And I was like, how's that work? And they go, it's just a box and they hook it up, and now it's like having TiVo or something in your hotel room. And I said, that'll never work. And they went, why not? I use it all the time. It works. Use the sling box. I said, it's never going to work because nothing ever works with me from a technological standpoint. And anyway, smash cut to about a weekend. This guy made 5 trips to my unit, and I could never get the. I'd come home at midnight and watch like high school girls volleyball on Channel Z, bored out of my mind. And I was like, I can't believe. And the sling box never worked for 10 seconds. It may work for 10 seconds, then the guy hooked it up with leave, and it would stop working again. And I couldn't watch TV anymore. And now all that meant is 300 square foot room and nothing to do, like all night. And I was just like, I can't handle this. So when I got voted off or fired or canceled or whatever I got, I was happy to go home and watch my TV set.
Okay.
So I had no problem with that. And it was probably exacerbated by Penn Jillette, who would tell me he liked to just sit in a bathtub and read every night. And I'd go, what about your TV? And he goes, I don't know. I haven't turned it on yet. And I was like, we've been here for 2 weeks. And he's like, yeah, I don't watch TV. I read.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh.
Are you surprised, or I know lots of people who follow this show are very disappointed that Penn Jillette went from being Mr. Libertarian to being besties with Gavin Newsom. Are you still friends with him, or any thoughts on that?
I like Penn Jillette a lot. He's mellowed over the years. He was kind of like Trump. I like this version of him better than the last version of him. I didn't know that he was besties with Gavin Newsom. I'm kind of surprised by that.
During COVID, he's taking pictures with him and kind of praising his leadership. I was very surprised to see that.
Wow. That feels very un-Penn Jillette.
Right? Everyone had that reaction. Like, what are you doing? Yeah.
Well, listen, anybody cozying up to Gavin Newsom sounds insane, considering what a sociopath he is. I don't know. I don't know, a year and a half ago, I went and saw him and saw a show and hung out backstage and had a nice conversation and so on and so forth. And he's done my podcast a few times. So I don't know what to make of the 2.0 Penn Jillette. But I've always had a good relationship with him. And I'd say it'd be better because he used to kind of have his guard up a lot and want to make sure you knew he was the smartest guy in the room and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And he's kind of settled in a little bit, as guys do when they get a little older. The same thing I described with Trump, like, And so I don't know. I don't know what to make of the buddies up with Newsom version of Penn Jillette, but I've always been good with him.
You were very famously co-host of The Man Show for a long time. My buddy Mike Cernovich, when I interviewed him for one of my books, said that the only kind of masculinity you're really allowed to present in America is beers, boobs, and barbecue. or basketball. I forgot what the ones were. Do you think that there is this kind of, you see this a lot in right-wing circles and right of center circles, this kind of attack on traditional masculinity and presenting men in a positive light?
Yeah, I mean, there's a toxic masculinity, but
Sure.
there's no toxic femininity. And men need to curtail some of their instincts. But the part that no one ever says is women should start doing it too, because they got a lot of horrible instincts and they need to reel it in as well. Like everyone should sort of govern over themselves a little better. And we sort of said, men, you got to stop doing this and stop following that impulse and essentially stop doing what your male brain is telling you to do. But we said, women, you can do no wrong.
Yeah.
And you're beautiful and you're a queen and you can do whatever you want. And now we have a bunch of crazy nut job chicks running everywhere, screaming at everyone. And that's how we got Jasmine Crockett, you know? So
No, hold on. Let me interrupt you. She's not a nut job. She's playing a part. If you watch a video of her, she's completely, it's kayfabe. It's complete kayfabe.
It's funny. Somebody said that to me earlier today.
Yeah.
So she's, whatever it is, women who, when I was young, to watch women fist fight was a crazed anomaly. Like you had to be watching roller derby. Now, at any airport in America at any given time, there's women beating the shit out of each other, which is something that never happened in the past. So they need to be told to reel their shit in too, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And no, men, 6-year-old boys, sorry, Gillette, not Penn Gillette, but Gillette the corporation. 6-year-old boys wrestling on a backyard lawn at a barbecue is not toxic masculinity. It's what 6-year-old boys do.
Wait, they call that toxic masculinity?
In their Gillette commercial talking about toxic masculinity, they showed 2 young boys like wrestling.
Wait, why is Gillette talking about toxic masculinity at all?
Why does Subaru talk about making cars with love?
Well, because then I could feel, okay, love is my personal brand. I'm a loving person. This car speaks to me, right? But like, who is shaving against toxic masculinity?
Why did Coca-Cola work to get the All-Star game moved out of Atlanta?
They did?
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, corporations just suck dick all the time. They don't care about anything. They just... they're all down with Black Lives Matter, and their Disney's pledging what, and you know what I'm saying? Like what they think there's commerce to be made there.
But I don't disagree with that. I'm just curious, like who was, unless they're thinking that it's Karen who's buying those razors. I don't know who that's appealing to if they're kind of, attacking 2 boys just wrestling around, or there's the concept.
Well,
I guess it's urban men, right? College educated men is good. That's who they're trying to target.
Well, I mean, look no further than Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light. Like they make mistakes, know.
Sure.
Their plan is to sort of be a part of everything, and any which way the wind is blowing, that's what they're on. And if the wind is blowing toward toxic masculinity or Black Lives Matter or trans, whatever, they're all there. I mean, how many corporations do the, Pride Month display at the Target who, basically just use slave labor in China to crap out whatever it is they're making, like Nike or whatever. They don't care. They still got lots of pride displays and stuff like that. So that's kind of what corporations do.
Folks, head over to malice.locals.com where Adam took questions from the supporting viewers. What's going to be your line to get you to move to? Because I lived in New York. I still don't know how to drive. I lived in New York all my life. My line was when they had the vaccine passports. I'm like, I was born in the Soviet Union. I'm not doing this paper please shit. I'm out of here. So what would be the line for you?
When I'm done with the house I'm building in Nevada.
Okay, yeah. Adam, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. I've been such a supporter and fan of yours for so long. We're running out of time. What has been your favorite part of this interview?
I'd say the end part where we're wrapping it up feels like, no, I'm just being a douche. I love talking to smart, sharp people. And if they're fans, it's even better.
You are welcome.
For weeks now, New Jersey residents have been plagued by unexplained drones flying overhead.
Is there intelligent alien life? And if so, has the government been covering it up?
All right, UFO sightings the military can't explain. Congressional hearings, Pentagon whistleblower. What does it all mean?
What does it all mean? We are here to try and figure it all out with our new Ancient Aliens podcast. There is a doorway in the universe. Beyond it is the promise of truth. It demands we question everything we have ever been taught. The evidence is all around us. The future is right before our eyes. We are not alone. We have never been alone. Listen to the Ancient Aliens podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you looking for your next case? Pluto TV has all your favorite crime dramas streaming for free.
You're gonna need some backup.
Which means suspense is free.
Very cool.
Watch CSI New York, Criminal Minds, Blue Bloods, Tracker, FBI, and SWAT all for free.
You can't outrun this.
Someone is gonna pay for all this crime. But it's not gonna be you.
Take care of business, fellas.
Watch all the cases, all for free, from all your favorite devices.
We got you.
Feel the free. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.